Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating piece of aviation history that's often overlooked. Imagine a plane, dubbed Overcomplicated by many, a design that seemed to defy conventional wisdom, yet it went on to achieve an astonishing feat: the highest kill ratio of any U.S. plane in World War II. Sounds like a contradiction, right? How could something so complex, so seemingly cumbersome, become such a deadly weapon? Well, buckle up, because we're about to uncover the incredible story of the Grumman TBF Avenger and the brilliant mind behind its controversial design. This isn't just a story about a plane, it's about innovation, perseverance, and how sometimes the path less traveled leads to unparalleled success. The Avenger wasn't just another bomber, it was a game-changer, and its journey from drawing board to becoming a legend is packed with surprising twists. So, let us peel back the layers and discover how an overcomplicated torpedo bomber redefined aerial warfare. First, let's set the stage. By the late 1930s, as war clouds gathered, the U.S. Navy desperately needed a new torpedo bomber. Their existing aircraft, like the Douglas TBD Devastator, were becoming obsolete. They were slow, underpowered, and vulnerable, a grim reality that would soon be exposed in the crucible of combat. The Navy called for a replacement, something faster, more survivable, and capable of delivering a heavier punch. This was a critical mission, as torpedo bombers were seen as vital for neutralizing enemy capital ships. Enter Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation, already a stalwart supplier of naval aircraft, known for their rugged Grumman Iron Works reputation. They threw their hat into the ring, and their chief designer, a visionary named Robert L. Hall, spearheaded the project. Hall was known for his meticulous approach and his willingness to push boundaries, sometimes to the frustration of those who preferred simpler, more straightforward designs. And with the Avenger, he certainly pushed. From the outset, Hall's design for what would become the TBF-1 Avenger was ambitious. Most torpedo bombers of the era were relatively simple, but Hall envisioned something different: a heavily armed, well-protected aircraft that could not only carry a full-size torpedo internally, a major improvement over external mounts that caused drag, but also defend itself robustly. He understood that a slow-flying torpedo bomber would be a prime target for enemy fighters, and survivability was paramount. This focus on survivability led to some of the overcomplicated features. For instance, the Avenger was considerably larger and heavier than its predecessor, the Devastator. It featured extensive armor plating, particularly around the cockpit and vital systems. It also boasted a formidable defensive armament: a powerful 50 caliber machine gun in a dorsal turret, another 30 caliber in the nose, and later more guns in the wings and a ventral position. This was a far cry from the lightly armed torpedo planes of earlier designs. But perhaps the most distinctive and overcomplicated feature was its unique wing-folding mechanism. To save precious space on crowded aircraft carrier decks, Grumman developed the stow wing system, which folded the wings backward and parallel to the fuselage. This wasn't just a simple hinge, it was an intricate hydraulic system that allowed the wings to tuck neatly away, reducing the aircraft's footprint significantly. While incredibly clever and efficient, it added weight and complexity, leading some critics to grumble about its potential for maintenance issues and mechanical failures. Critics also pointed to the Avenger's initial size and weight, arguing it was too large for carrier operations and too heavy for optimal performance. They worried about its maneuverability and speed compared to lighter, nimbler designs. In their eyes, Hall had prioritized protection and payload over simplicity and raw performance, leading to an overcomplicated machine that might be a liability rather than an asset. But Hall, with the Navy's backing, pressed on, convinced that his design philosophies would pay off when it mattered most. The Avenger officially entered service in 1942, right into the thick of the Pacific War. Its baptism by fire was brutal at the Battle of Midway in June 1942. 6 Avengers, fresh from the factory and flown by relatively inexperienced crews from Torpedo Squadron 8, VT-8, launched from the USS Hornet to attack the Japanese fleet. It was a disaster for the devastators of other squadrons, which were virtually wiped out. The Avengers, despite suffering heavy losses themselves, 5 of the 6 were shot down, managed to fight back, their defensive armament surprising the attacking Japanese Zeros. The one surviving Avenger, though heavily damaged, made it back to the Hornet, a testament to its rugged construction. Midway was a harsh lesson, but it also proved the Avenger's fundamental soundness. Despite the heavy losses, the aircraft's ability to absorb punishment and its powerful defensive firepower offered a glimpse of its potential. Crews began to appreciate the armor and the sturdy airframe that allowed many damaged Avengers to return home, unlike their flimsier predecessors. This overcomplicated toughness was saving lives. As the war progressed, the Avengers' true genius began to shine. It became the backbone of the U.S. Navy's torpedo bomber force, evolving and adapting with the changing demands of combat. It wasn't just a torpedo bomber anymore. It transformed into a highly versatile attack aircraft, capable of carrying bombs, depth charges, and even rockets. It effectively became a multi-role combat platform. Its primary role, dropping torpedoes, was executed with devastating efficiency. The internal bomb bay kept the torpedo protected and reduced drag, allowing for better speed and range. When the pilots had a clear shot, the Avenger delivered its payload with precision, often crippling or sinking enemy vessels. But it was in its secondary roles, and often in desperate situations, that the Avenger truly excelled and began to rack up those impressive kill ratios. Think about anti-submarine warfare, for instance. The Avenger became an invaluable tool for hunting down and destroying U-boats in the Atlantic and Japanese submarines in the Pacific. Equipped with radar, magnetic anomaly detectors, MAD, and sonobuoys, Avengers patrolled vast stretches of ocean, locating hidden submarines and then dropping depth charges or rockets with deadly accuracy. This was a far cry from its initial design brief, showcasing its incredible adaptability. Then there was its role as a land attack aircraft. Carrying a variety of bombs, Avengers softened beachheads before amphibious invasions, supported ground troops, and struck enemy infrastructure. They could loiter over targets, providing sustained fire and reconnaissance, leveraging their robust design and defensive armament to withstand ground fire. But what about that highest kill ratio claim? This is where the Avengers' robust defensive capabilities truly played a pivotal role. Unlike lighter, less protected aircraft that would quickly fall to enemy fighters once engaged, the Avenger often stood a fighting chance. Its powerful dorsal turret, manned by a dedicated gunner, could effectively deter or even shoot down attacking Zeros. There are numerous accounts of Avenger gunners fending off multiple enemy fighters and sometimes even shooting them down. Consider the famous example of President George H.W. Bush, who flew Avengers. During his harrowing mission over Chichijima in 1944, his Avenger was hit by anti-aircraft fire, catching fire. Despite the intense damage, the plane held together long enough for him to complete his bombing run and then bail out. This resilience wasn't an anomaly. It was a common characteristic. The Avenger's defensive armament, combined with its ability to absorb punishment, meant that fewer Avengers were lost to enemy fighters proportionally compared to many other aircraft types, especially when considering its primary role as a relatively slow-moving target. While specific kill ratios for individual aircraft can be complex to calculate precisely across all mission types, historical data and expert analysis strongly indicate that the Avenger, factoring in its diverse roles and survivability, had an exceptionally high return on investment in terms of successful missions completed and enemy assets destroyed versus its own losses. Its ruggedness allowed it to complete its mission and return, even when heavily damaged, making every sortie count. Furthermore, the Avenger often operated in conjunction with fighter escorts, like its Grumman sibling, the Hellcat. This synergy created an even more formidable strike package. While fighters cleared the skies of enemy interceptors, the Avengers could focus on their primary attack role. Even without escorts, the Avengers' self-defense capabilities gave it a fighting chance that many other bombers lacked. By the end of the war, the Avenger had participated in virtually every major naval engagement in the Pacific. It sank countless ships, submarines, and damaged numerous land targets. Its presence was felt from Midway to Okinawa. It had proven the critics wrong, demonstrating that an overcomplicated design, built with foresight and a deep understanding of combat realities, could become an unparalleled success. Robert L. Hall's vision of a tough, versatile, and heavily armed torpedo bomber paid off handsomely. The Avenger wasn't just a plane, it was a symbol of rugged American engineering and ingenuity. It continued to serve for years after World War II, seeing action in the Korean War and with various other air forces around the world adapting to new technologies and roles, a testament to its fundamental soundness and robust design. So, the next time someone tells you something is too complicated, remember the Grumman TBF Avenger. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes what seems complex on the surface is actually a meticulously engineered solution to complex problems. Its layered defenses, versatile payload, and robust construction weren't flaws. They were features that ensured its survival and ultimate success, earning it a legendary place in aviation history and an astonishing kill ratio that stood above the rest. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the incredible story of the Avenger. If you found this historical journey as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, share this video with fellow history buffs, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. We've got so much more history to explore together. See you in the next one.